fantastical, so unpredictable, here on the SNL Network.
Hey everybody, welcome on in to the SNL Network here on this Labor Day Monday. Happy long weekend to all of our friends throughout North America, both in the United States and Canada. I hope you enjoyed your long weekend and the sort of end of summer kickoff to fall as we start to look towards season 48 of Saturday Night Live. And that is exactly what's going to be happening in this episode of the podcast. I just wanted to get you ready for what you are about to listen to. We got four of our greatest SNL minds, four of our superfans to come together. We have host Sammy Kay and analysts Bill Kenney, Andrew Haynes, and Victoria Franso got together to do another Superfan Takeover. And this time it is about the state of SNL, sort of like a State of the Union, talking about leaving season 47 behind and what they're looking forward to in season 48. It is a really fun, open-ended conversation. And the reason that I'm talking to you before that conversation is because of the long weekend. We actually recorded this podcast last week before the news came out publicly about Alex Moffat, Melissa Villaseñor, and Aristotle Atari leaving the show. This is something that I sort of had an idea about, at least with most of them, that they were headed out. But we were asked, obviously, not to say anything publicly about their departures. I wasn't sure if they were going to be announcing it themselves, but obviously it got leaked to the media, and then it was just everywhere last week. And I would love to have a proper opportunity to really break down and analyze their careers on the show. So I'm hoping we can get to that before season 48 starts. So look out for that in just a couple weeks, where we're going to talk more about them and their careers on the show, and then we'll turn our attention towards season 48. So lots of coverage to come. We're going to talk about that a lot more next week when we're back to cover the Emmys. So check out our social media for all of that. And I just wanted to remind you that this conversation was recorded last week, so there will be some speculation in this podcast about if those three will be returning to the show. Just so you know that Bill and Victoria and Haynes and Sammy, they're not living under a rock. They definitely know that the three of them are not there anymore. And obviously, by the way, we wish those three the best. And, if it wasn't SNL that they were meant to be, there this year, I think they are all going to have really excellent careers outside of the show as well. So we'll talk about that a lot more, as well as everything that's to come as soon as we find out some host announcements, who's going to be the, part of the new cast. Can't wait to find out all of that stuff. All right. I hope everyone's having a great weekend and enjoys the show tonight. Without further ado, let me send it to Sammy, Bill, Haynes, and Victoria for our conversation this week, the state of SNL.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the SNL Network Superfan Takeover. It's Labor Day weekend, which means we are only a couple weeks away from the 48th season premiere of Saturday Night Live. And on today's show, we'll be discussing the state of SNL and previewing the new season. So we'll be talking about where SNL is at the moment and where we think it's going, potential cast changes that could happen, potential hosts, a lot of fun stuff to be sure. But before we dive into all of that, I would like to introduce our amazing panel of superfans here. And first, I'll start with Bill Kenney. Bill, how has your summer been?
It's been great, Sammy. Thanks for having me. It's so good to see you guys again. We've really had a slow summer, and I've missed you guys. I don't mind saying that. Mm-hmm. But summer's been fun. But as we were discussing pre-show, it means SNL's right around the corner. So very excited.
Yeah, no, I agree. I can't believe Bill and Haynes, we've been doing this. This will be our third year covering the show here on the SNL Network. Can you believe, Bill, that we've been doing this for this long and that people are still listening?
It's wild stuff, and as long as you don't go back and watch the first few we did, you're all golden.
yeah, just we've
learned.
Still working out. We've learned. Yeah, similar to watching maybe some older SNL episodes where people first join the cast, right?
There you go.
People find their footings and everything. Next up here on the panel, we only have one Andrew here tonight, so I'm going to call him Haynes. Even though Haskell's not with us. Andrew Haynes. Haynes, how you doing?
I'm doing awesome. Like you guys said, we're coming to the end of the summer. zero week of football, college football just started. I think of football and SNL as kind of the fall to me. And I just love it. I love it all. I'm a total fall person. Summer's great. I'm fully embracing this more casual, laid back conversation structure we're having today, as you can see by my hair. And just to give you a small glimpse into my life, I'm still wearing my bathing suit from the pool party last night. So that's where I'm at right now.
There you go. Yeah, no, one of these days we'll just have to have some sort of podcast streamed live from a pool. Do you have a pool, Haynes? Can we all?
No, I don't have a pool. No, I don't have
okay.
a pool.
Well,
I could get us into a pool.
That's good enough for me. Haynes, has SNL been like a part of your summer? Or do you typically, you're not going back and watching old episodes? You're kind of enjoying the hiatus and gearing up for the fall.
Every summer is different. This summer, I haven't been doing a bunch of revisiting. Obviously, with what we do, we absorb a lot of SNL throughout the year. So I feel like I have a pretty good wrap on everything that we experienced last season. So this has not been a big revisit summer for me, which is another reason I'm even more excited for the new fall.
Absolutely. All right. And here joining us, I think for the first time on one of our Superfan Takeovers, we have Victoria Franso. Victoria, how you doing?
Pleasure to be here. Honored to be here. But I'm doing well.
Awesome. I'm really excited to have you on the show today. Yeah. And since this is your first time on this specific Superfan Takeover, not to put you on the spot or anything, but want to tell us a little bit about how you kind of first became an SNL superfan per se?
Oh, it's corny. It goes way back. My family and I would watch it when I was a kid. That was like one of the few times that we got together. I remember it was late 90s, early 2000s. So I didn't quite comprehend what was going on, but I just remember everyone's laughing. It was, associated with laughter and joy and a way to bond with my family. And it wasn't until I got to middle school, high school that I realized, one, comedy is something I want to pursue. And, looking to SNL as, kind of that North Star of what I want to do. So the rumors about 50 being the last season is heartbreaking. I just want to be on one episode as an extra, just so I can say I'll be on it. But yeah, no, it's been over a decade long, I have books on Gilda Radner. I have, The Game, and I've, even I was involved in Second City in Chicago just to fully immerse myself on the cast members' process and how a lot of them got to the show. But yeah, I love the show, and it's been I've evolved and changed, and my life has changed in so many ways, but my love for Saturday Night Live has not. It's been my only constant. It's my longest relationship.
Yeah. No, that's really, really well said there, Victoria. I put you on the spot, and you absolutely delivered. And you are super fan worthy of being on the Superfan Takeover. So we're very excited. Not that I had any doubts, but that really cemented it for me that this is going to be a great show. And yeah, I think we should get started here and talking about the state of SNL, a very dramatic way to frame our episode here today. But we're really just excited. It's been a great summer. Speaking personally, I know before the show we all talked. We've had a great summer. A nice hiatus from SNL, but we're ready to go, ready to cover season 48 and all that is in store with that. And I think the first place we should start our conversation is looking ahead. What is the kind of, theme or headline that you guys are expecting to see or want to see out of season 48? It could be, as specific or as broad as you'd like to take it. And I am going to start off here with Bill. Bill, what is your headline for season 48?
Well, I think my headline is the soft rebuild that we've seen and will continue to see over the next few weeks does not lessen the show's quality, and the next generation steps up and kills it going into the midterms. I think, in days of yore, we saw a lot of people of this talent like Kate and Adie leave, and there was this huge hole, and the show had a down year. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think that with the size of the cast and the talent that's already established on the show, that we're going to be okay. We're going to follow up a great season 47 with another great season 48.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, having a large cast change, an exodus, if you will, is something that people in the online SNL community have kind of been over the last few years wanting to see. And, there are like pros and cons to that, right? Because, we have people who have been so established on the show for so many years who are reliable that are no longer there, which does, there's a deep bench of cast members that are currently on the show who could potentially join the show, like up and coming comedians. There's a deep bench, but it'll be interesting to see kind of where the chips fall as we start season 48. Victoria or Haynes, do you have any thoughts on kind of that headline? I'm sure you guys have similar headlines as Bill's with this being a rebuilding year.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. I'm not sure what the headline or theme will be. That I kind of paused in it once I saw Kenan Thompson's interview about, Lauren and retiring and maybe 50 not having the 50th season be the last not being off the table. So I think that starting in 48, it'll kind of be a subtle beginning of the end. Like there will be undertones of kind of I'm sad even talking about it, but just I don't know, starting to I don't want to say it.
Starting to you're talking about the end of Saturday Night Live as we know it. Is that kind of like where your head's at just because of the Kenan interview and everything?
Yeah, I don't know why that was. I think it's because of my love for this show. And like I really just want to be on this show. Like I said, SNL, if you're listening, even just like as a janitor in the background, just like call me up. I'll do it for free. But I think I just that made me really sad, and that's what stuck with me the past like few weeks. But I think starting in 48, if that's true, if 50th season is going to be the last, which please no, I think we're going to start seeing undertones of kind of saying goodbye to things or getting some more five timers, double dude. I don't know, doing it ending with a bang, but I don't know. I'm not sure. Long story short.
Yeah, no, that's I obviously saw that, and I'm sure a lot of the people listening and watching us right now have seen that article. But you haven't, Kenan Thompson, kind of given an interview saying that he kind of thinks or has a feeling that SNL 50 can not only be the last season for Lorne Michaels as a producer, which is something that we've all kind of speculated and he's hinted at as well over the years, but that it could be the end of the show as we know it. Personally, for me, not only do I not want to see that happen, I don't think it's going to happen. Just because, as an institution, with Lorne Michaels, without Lorne Michaels, I mean, to NBC, for them to lose Saturday Night Live, I mean, maybe as a creative decision, I can almost respect them giving up that sort of saying, this is Lorne Michaels' baby, and if he's not doing it anymore, maybe we should just end it on top per se. But in this capitalistic society, I just don't see it happening. Haynes, let me bring you in here. What was your thoughts when you initially saw that interview with Kenan, and do you think it's likely that in 2 years' time we could be saying goodbye to Saturday Night Live?
Well, I don't know how likely it is, because the only reasons to me for it to be the end are because 50 is a nice round number, and Lorne, is getting up there. Yes, we may be looking at the death of network television, but I don't see why it wouldn't be something that would just move to a streaming service. Lorne would be the biggest factor there, but Bill and Victoria kind of led perfectly up to what, my idea for the theme would have been, which was that, I think it'll be a little bit of a rebirth, a little bit of a renaissance, a rejuvenation, but And of course, we won't know this as we're watching it, but yeah, it's possible that we're going to look back and see it as the final, renaissance. And so we may have a little bit of a new mini era that's going to happen here. Eras in SNL history, can kind of vary in length. I think we've come to the end of kind of a really long one. But I think that it's going to be fun. I don't think that we are going to listen. I love the idea of going out with a bang. But I don't think that it's going to feel like we're moving toward the end. I don't think they're going to let that happen. If this happens. And as far as I'm concerned, who cares about 50? Why can't it end after 63 seasons or something, and so like I said, Lorne's the biggest factor. And, no one will be able to do the show exactly the way he has. Maybe this is getting a little philosophical here, but no one can make the same creative choices as another person. It's just not possible. You can only truly know one's self. And so it'll be a new person's show if someone else takes over. But it'll be someone who spent their entire life watching SNL and they understand the aesthetic. So I wouldn't imagine that it would be far off. So these are the things that I've been thinking about. I'm not ready to put the nail in the coffin yet, but it's totally possible. And if it does end, after 50, if that's when Lorne wants to just bring the ship down while he's instead of just hopping off, then that's fine with me, because what an incredible institution, what a massive just engine for entertainment in our culture. And it's just been a wild ride. I hope it's not over, but it has been wild, right?
That made me feel better. You and Sammy. So,
okay, good.
Thanks for easing my heart.
Yeah. It would have been unfortunate that at minute 15 of the podcast, if we really just, we're just talking about the doom and gloom of SNL when we're looking forward to season 48, which season 48 will not be the last season. We know that. We know that we're at least getting to 50. So, that is, if that's one silver lining here that we could focus on, there's a lot of possibilities in season 48. Kind of going to my headline, I kind of got, a little bit more specific on a cast standpoint with my headline. We just saw 4 cast members leave the show who have been on the show for many, many years, with Kate McKinnon, A.D. Bryant, Pete Davidson, and Kyle Mooney. Specifically, Kate and A.D., 2 incredible female voices on the show. Obviously, Cecily Strong is still there, and we're going to talk a little bit in a moment about whether or not we think that's going to be the case. But right now, we are anticipating she's probably coming back just because she didn't get a big goodbye. So there will be a bit of a void of the female voices on the show that were really dominating the show. Luckily, there is a deep bench, and I do think, my headline for the season is, I think this is going to be Heidi and Ego's season. They've showed obviously a lot of promise over the last couple of years. They've both been on the show for at least 4 or 5 seasons at this point. And I think now that those big names have left, this is really going to be their time to not only shine, but kind of take control of the show and have it, a lot more sketches center around them and their abilities. So do you guys think this is going to be a banner year for Heidi and Ego as well? Or, do you think, that might not be the case?
Yeah, I mean, I not only Heidi and Ego, but also Chris. I think it's their show now. They all stepped up tremendously in the last year and a half, even with all those power players that you mentioned that were still there. So, we like to kind of put puzzle pieces in. Like when Beck left last year, we thought Alex would get more roles, and he didn't really. So it's not an A to B, but we already saw a lot of that work with Heidi and Ego and Chris over the last season and a half, where they were in more sketches, they were leading more sketches. Even if they weren't leading the sketch, they were in there providing, some momentary funny. And, it really was their show even last year. I mean, Kate didn't come back until the end of the year at Christmas time. 80 was gone at certain points, and Cecily was gone the year before. So, I mean, I think it's already headed in that direction even before they left, but now we'll see that even more resonant.
Yeah, I would have to say Heidi and Ego definitely, I think, are going to be uh, like not up and coming, but what was the word? Kind of like the stars of the show. If we had to do 4 for 4, choose 4 to replace the 4, I would say Heidi, Ego, Chloe, and Alex would be kind of like the front runners of everything. And that's on top of Mikey Day. Like Mikey Day has also been a key player, but we knew that. In terms of, I don't like to say replacing, but essentially replacing those 4, I think the ones I mentioned again, Chloe, Heidi, Ego, and Alex are going to be kind of like the front runners, moving forward and being at their show. Yeah, and that's to be complimented by Mikey and Chris. I think they've already done that, but I think in season 48 and onward, we're going to be seeing more of them for sure.
Yeah, I think obviously those are the names that I was thinking of as far as stepping up. Definitely Heidi and Ego, and Chloe has been, I think, has been coming on really strong. With obviously she's an incredibly talented impressionist. I could see Bowen kind of really taking over the show. He just seems to have so much energy and just kill everything he's in. Like you said, obviously Mikey Day will still be a strong presence. I kind of view him as like a Draymond Green kind of, just extremely reliable. Like people don't always think of him as the star, but just so reliable, just keeps crushing it. And I also think, we'll see some of the newer folks continue to step up. Wouldn't surprise me if James Austin Johnson if they made him a full cast member this year. Even though that's I know it's only his second season, but just throwing it out there, he got a lot of love for a first timer. He got a lot of love for a rookie last year. He was rookie MVP, and so I could see a lot of folks stepping up here. I think the show is going to change in some ways. I do think that with all the departure and possibly more, I do think they like the big cast right now. So it wouldn't surprise me if, they're having auditions right now. You don't have auditions if you're not considering hiring someone, so Victoria, I'm sure you already knew that, as that's as this is your back. Okay, yeah, thank you. So yeah, and I could see a lot of stuff happening. So I do think there will be plenty of voices to fill that void, and no one can replace a cast member in SNL history. There is no, people like to say there's kind of second comings of folks, but no one can ever replace anyone. So of course, no one will ever replace Kate. She was so dominant. We lost a lot of great people, but she was just such a power player. You'll never be able to replace that, but other people will step up and it'll be an exciting team. There's no doubt about it.
For sure. No, and I think this is a good opportunity to kind of transition our conversation over to the cast. So as we mentioned before, so far we know of 4 people who will not be returning for season 48, which is Kate McKinnon, A.D. Bryant, Pete Davidson, and Kyle Mooney. So who do we think is coming back? Who do we think is not coming back? We have kind of heard rumblings that there might be a little more turnover this season. And, if you're looking at the cast itself, if we kind of run through everybody, we currently have 12 repertory players and 5 featured players on the cast. So that's 17 people, which is still, looking back at the history of the show, a pretty big cast. And, we might be seeing some featured players move up to repertory. You might be seeing some featured players not returning, some main cast members not returning. And as Haynes mentioned before, auditions are happening right now. So there will be new cast members joining this season. So, for people at home who are not happy with the way the SNL cast size has been over the last couple seasons, I think, you're not going to be in luck per se, but there will be new blood, which I think is the important thing to focus on. So I think it would be fun to kind of go through the cast one by one, and we can kind of all go around and say who we think is likely or unlikely to return for season 48. I think we should start with the featured players, because these are kind of the people who have not had as much time, seasons to shine on the show. Let's give them their spotlight here and really, be the judge, jury, and executioner of who is going to be returning for next season. So let's start. I'm just going to go alphabetical order here, which means we're going to start talking about Aristotle Atari. He was last season was his first season on the show. Obviously, in the SNL fan community, he didn't get as much screen time as we'd hoped, or at least compared to Sarah Sherman or James Austin Johnson. So, with that in mind, Bill, do you think it's likely or unlikely that he will be returning for next season?
It feels unlikely, just because of the way the season ended. Probably the last 5-6 episodes, I don't think we saw a trace of him other than in a background role, non-speaking. So it'd be a big shame, because I think he had a lot of talent. We saw some of that on Update. We saw that with Angelo, which got cut seemingly every time after the first couple times. So I feel like it's unlikely that he'll be back.
Yeah, as someone who actually just recently finally got around to watching season 6 of Silicon Valley, Aristotle had a recurring role. I was surprised to see him, before he joined us. Now he had a recurring role in that season, and he was great. And I really enjoyed a lot of his contributions last season. But yeah, with all the points you just said, maybe unlikely. With that in mind, Victoria, what do you think about Aristotle's chances to be a part of season 48?
Well, for one, I really like him. I think he's great. I'm hoping it's one of those cases of quality versus quantity, because every time he has had a feature like Angelo or what was it, the robotic? Do you know what I'm talking about? What's it called? Anyway, he's incredibly talented, and every time he has had his space on the show, he's done an impeccable job. My hope is that he comes back and gets more time. Likeliness, though, I think it's 50-50. I think he's really talented, but it's why, curious as to why he hasn't been on the show more. But yeah, I think it's 50-50.
And Haynes?
So, I am not comfortable with this position you've put me in here, Sammy, to be the jury, judge, and executioner. So I'm just going to be a gossipy villager having no idea what the king is really going to do and who's actually going to get beheaded here. I think that, listen, because I love every single cast member. I think that everybody brings something awesome to the table. If you had to ask me, even if we weren't, going through this alphabetically, I have thought about this, about who might not be returning. Yeah, kind of to Bill's point, just based on the usage toward the end of the season, if I had to put my money on it, and we know that, we're losing more than one other person, because I actually think there's one person that's more likely, and we'll talk about that soon. Yeah, I would say the odds are not in Ari's favor, but like Victoria was saying, he is great. I thought last year, someone asked, who should play Putin, going into 47, and I was like, man, I really think Aristotle would have been a great Putin. Like, he just feels like he could deliver that hard, cold delivery so well. So, and Angelo was great. I think he's got plenty of range. But yeah, if I had to put my money on it, I would say that things are less in his favor than I would want them to be.
For sure, yeah, and I actually, for this exercise going down the line, I think we can throw 50-50 as an option for sure. So if you don't want to really put your thumb on the scale there, I think that's totally fair. So let's move on to the next cast member here. Andrew Dismukes. This is someone who if you heard our coverage of the show last season, someone I've been very high on. This will be, if he comes back, his third season on the show, which is typically when someone gets promoted to the repertory cast. I'm going to start here with Victoria. Do you think Dismukes is coming back?
Absolutely. That's not a question. That's all.
Yeah. And
totally agree. Yeah. I mean, you think about the evolution from season 1 to season 2. I mean, how he was used a lot last year, and he was really crushing it. So, I forget what the squid or octopus's name is, but Andrew Dismukes is not dead. At the end of this week, he's coming back.
And to add on, something we've discussed, throughout this last season, SNL Network, is like, if you look at, it's a numbers, we're big on numbers here. His screen time isn't that much, but he just packs a punch every time he does, show up on our screens. So
that's a good point.
Yeah. He's coming back. If not, I'm going to go there and talk to the security guard at 30 Rock, and he'll kick me out.
Please be sure to get some live coverage of that for us here at the SNL Network. And Bill, I feel like you're going to make it a clean sweep here.
I am 100%. Not only what these guys have already said, but all of his writing. He wrote a lot of his own stuff. He wrote with Sarah. He has this kind of crazy, unique voice, just like Sarah does. So I think that's important to the show moving on, 100%.
For sure. And, if you couldn't tell by my initial spiel on Dismukes, I definitely think he's coming back. He will be promoted to the repertory cast, and he will get hopefully even more screen time this season than last. Next up, we have James Austin Johnson. This would be his second season on the show. He was kind of like not a one season wonder is not the right word, because that would mean he's not coming back. But last season, he had an incredible first season for a first season cast member, obviously playing both Biden and Trump in a lot of the cold opens. He got a lot of screen time. I'm going to start here with Haynes. I almost don't even feel like I need to go around the board on this one.
I mean, I essentially answered this question at the beginning of the program. Yeah, I think he's going to be one of those rare folks that actually, gets brought up to gets brought to a full cast member, this year. So look forward to seeing that. If that's not the case, he's certainly not going anywhere.
That might even be a better question for this round, because I think unless you guys have other thoughts, we all agree he's coming back for this upcoming season, right? Do you guys think there's a likely chance that he will get that rare, at least in this era of the show, that rare, promotion to the main cast? Or do you think just with the way the show's structured these days, you do 2 years on the featured player bench, and no matter how much of an impact you make? Bill, do you have any thoughts on that?
I think Haynes' prediction is pretty wild, since that really hasn't happened in about 15 years. So he deserves it, yes, but the way that, as you said, it's structured now, where they do their 2 and they move up. So if he does, kudos to him, and he would deserve it for everything he did last year.
Agreed. I mean, of course he's going to come back, and I think he's still touring. So he's coming to a city near you. Please go see him. He's awesome on a stage as well. I want him to get promoted. I think he's very deserving of that. I just think there's going to be the politics of, do your 2, but we will see.
Let me just toss out, while we're still on James Austin Johnson. James, if you're listening, congratulations on the tour. I bought those tickets like the day they went on sale, and you canceled your appearance in Durham, North Carolina, like 2 days beforehand. I don't know if this was you or the venue or what went down, but I was really, really looking forward to seeing you. And I watched I liked all your dumb Instagram videos where you talk about whether it's Raleigh or Durham or Raleigh-Durham. So please come back someday. We'd love to have you. Thank you.
Well, I think we cracked the case here, Haynes, because I'm pretty sure he had to cancel because Lauren called him up and he's like, all right, we got to negotiate your promotion to repertory status. So, maybe maybe that could be the reason. But all right, so clean sweep there on JAJ. Moving on to Punky Johnson. She's been on the show for 2 seasons. This would be her 3rd. And this is someone that, going into season 47, she got some screen time in her first season, but she was someone who could be looked at as a tweener. She definitely got a little more screen time this past season. I'd love to see her come back. I'm going to start here with Bill. Do you think it's likely, unlikely, or pretty much 50-50 on whether or not she's coming back this season?
I think it's probably about 75% that she does come back. I wish she got more time last year. She's so talented, so funny. But hopefully, maybe this is one of the side effects of everybody who's left, that she will get more screen time. I hope she gives it another year or 2 to try to break her way through. So, yeah, I think she'll be back.
Same here. Punky Johnson is so underrated. She has so much range in her characters too. She can play anything. So if she doesn't come back, it'll be a loss for the show. That's how strongly I feel about it.
Totally agree. I think that it's definitely most likely she comes back.
Yeah, and if she does come back, which I also am leaning towards the fact that she will be coming back, she would also be up for that repertory status promotion. So, I really hope she is able to, join us for another season and get even more screen time here in season 48. And finally, for our featured players, the infamous Sarah Sherman. She is someone who people were really excited to see Sarah Squirm join the show last season. Had a bit of a slow start, but then towards the end of the season, really made her mark on the show. And this would obviously be her 2nd season, still probably a featured player if she were to return. I'm putting it as very likely that she's coming back. Victoria, do you feel the same?
Yeah, for sure. I think she's carved her spot into the show, and she's already offered something incredibly unique, and that could live, on forever. She has a great personality. Fun story. I saw her do stand up. It was not that big of a room doing stand up in Chicago a few years back. And she left her mark then too. And as soon as I saw her on SNL, I was like, oh my God, like, we saw a lot of folks that night in that show. And I immediately remembered, hey, I know exactly who she is. I saw her in Chicago. She's for sure coming back. She's funny. She is original. So I haven't seen anybody like her, to say the least. And that's the best. And I say that in the best way possible. And for someone who's new, she's incredibly bold, and I think that's going to serve her well. So, Sarah, from Chicago and Chicagoan, love you.
And I'm going to ask you, Haynes, do you think it's likely she's coming back? And if she is, do you think it's likely? Do you think she'll be able to kind of push the envelope even further than she was able to last season with, a lot of the kind of, body horror-esque comedy that she's been known for, before she joined the show?
Now the second part is very intriguing. So yes, I do think she's coming back, and first and foremost because of that incredibly fresh voice. She's just brings something to the table that we really haven't seen, and it feels very new and exciting. I think she is very confident. I love her confidence. She really commits to her characters. I'm not sure how I love her weekend update, beating up on Jost. I'm not sure how many times we can do it before it starts to get old, but I would love it if it was a thing that, we only saw rarely, but like she was on the show for a long time, and maybe like once a year or something, like for the next decade, we got to see that. I would love that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think she's coming back, pushing the envelope. This is a really tough question to answer, and I'll be excited to hear what the rest of you all have to think about this. I know that they have let her try and push some boundaries and put some sketches out there that just like kind of horrified audiences during the during the dress rehearsal, is my understanding. So I don't know if she's going to. I don't want to say that she would ever not be herself. I don't mean anything like that. But if she might find a way to be, to really trim or become nuanced in the way she slides in this exciting new voice, or maybe after the data comes back from the way people rewatch stuff on YouTube or on Peacock, maybe they'll moneyball this situation and be like, you know what? It looks like people are really excited about this kind of weird stuff. And it'd be great to see her flourish and expand that. I have always loved the weirdness. I got a lot of hate for saying how much I loved Jim Carrey, or was it Jim Carrey who appeared as a spider on was it like Moffat's head or something? I don't remember this. It was one of the early Jim Carrey sketches, and someone appeared as like a fly on someone's head. And this was a very strange sketch, and it was in the cold open. I wish I'd watched it recently to be more articulate about this. And a lot of people just thought it was so weird. And but I love that kind of stuff, and I love the 10-to-1s. For those folks, I think a lot of our audience maybe knows what that means. But if you don't, it's those sketches that air in the last 10 minutes before 1 o'clock, where they kind of have a tendency to push the boundaries a little bit more, take a few more chances. She obviously shines in that spot. But as a person who loves the weird stuff, like, I would love it if the show got a little weirder, So I think Sarah's coming back. The second part of the question is tough to answer. I really can't say. We'll have to see.
Bill, I'm gonna let you get the last word on this one. What do you think about Sarah's chances of coming back, and do you think she'll be able to, do more of that kind of weird humor that she's known for?
100% that she's coming back, and I'm 100% with Haynes with the weirdness. I love that as well. What I would love to see SNL do, they've gotten better with this over the last couple of years, putting the cut for time or the cut for dress online, within 24 hours of the show. Just have online exclusives stuff and put a warning on it, may contain sensitive material, but, this is Sarah doing this. Something that you may not feel comfortable putting on network television, even at 12:30 at night, but something that you can put on YouTube and say, listen, this is a little gory, this is a little gross, but if you want to see it, here it is. And let her do stuff like that. Now, that would involve it mostly being pre-tapes, so I don't know if they'd be okay with that, but I think that would be a good way to kind of work around anything that might be too squeamish. Haynes alluded to the sketch that had to get cut at dress because it grossed out the fans too much. So I think that would be a good way around it. But yeah, hopefully they don't pigeonhole her and make her a Jay Leno and just completely strip her of her comedy. So
great suggestion, Bill.
Now I want to see a sketch where they make Sarah Sherman literally into Jay Leno. I think that would be that would be right in line with some of the weird body horror-esque stuff that she's known for. Yeah, I mean, Bill, I am totally with you on that idea of releasing kind of even more sketches from dress that are cut to kind of just see like what the audience responds to. It's kind of like the idea of using every part of the buffalo, right? Don't let anything go to waste, especially in this online age of being able to, monetize and put out even more content. I think it would be, a good thing for the show to play with even more in the future. All right. So we have rounded out the 5 featured players that we, have on the cast as far as who is likely to return for season 48. Let's go on over to the main cast. I'm going, again, in alphabetical order, but I'm going to save Shay and Jost here for last, just because, talking about weekend update in general. So we're going to start here with Mikey Day. He's been on the show for 6 seasons. This would be his 7th season on the show, which is kind of crazy to me to think about. So I'm going to start here with Bill. Do you see Mikey, coming back for a 7th season?
100%. He's what we used to call the glue, the Hartmans, the haters, this is the guy who you put in the sketch if you need the reaction, if you need the straight guy, if you need to play off the crazy Sarah Sherman or the crazy Dismukes, and get that great Mikey Day reaction. And he's such an important writer on the show as well. So yeah, I think he will definitely be back, and it'll become even more of his show.
Victoria?
Well, one that was beautiful. I odd to call someone a Hartman, or Hartman is such an incredible cast member when he was on the show. I agree wholeheartedly. Mikey Day is, I think, at this point especially going to be pivotal. I agree with the glue analogy. He's holding down the fort. He's always excited to play, and I think he's also just passionate about the show too, which is great. And I don't think he would dare leave right now. So
No reason that I know of that he should or would leave the show. It's 100% he's coming back as far as I'm concerned. Who else would play the British dude who doesn't understand why a situation is getting out of control? So
That is a great point there. Yeah, I agree. I think Mikey Day, unless something crazy happens, I think Mikey Day is definitely a safe bet for season 48. Moving on to Chloe Fineman. She has been on the show. She's been on the show for 3 seasons. This would be her 4th season on Saturday Night Live. Victoria, do you see Chloe coming back for season 48?
absolutely. In fact, she has to, because I said so. No, she's awesome. I think she's added such incredible value to the show. I think her characters are, have some range. If you follow her on Instagram, you see how many wigs she has. So I'm sure she'll want to use that experience and flex that muscle for the show. Yeah, I think she's for sure coming back. I don't want to say people say Kristen Wiig's the next Tina Fey and Kate's the next Kristen or whatever it is. I'm not saying each of those folks are their own entity, and they are talented in their own way. And but I do think Chloe fits that category of, these are incredible cast members that stand out and are a fan favorite. So for sure she's coming back. And I think or at least I hope she's going to be doing a lot more for SNL this year.
yeah, no brainer that she's coming back. I just look forward to what new impressions she gets to bring to the table. I love all the ones that she does already. I am kind of a freak for impressions, so yeah, I really want to see that. I want to see everything she's got in her pocket that we haven't seen yet. I can't imagine ever being disappointed with a Chloe Fineman impression.
I agree with you on that. I mean, she is probably the queen of impressions on the show right now. If Jay's the king, Chloe's the queen of impressions. Something I would want to maybe see a little bit more from her on the show is, some of her kind of original character work. Obviously, we know she can do a lot of amazing impressions, and she can find a way to, take a celebrity and put them in a funny situation. But, I think just based on her social media presence and stuff, I think there's definitely a lot of untapped potential there for as far as, kind of characters she can bring about. So I'm looking forward to seeing that from her this season. Moving on, I'm pretty sure this will be, another clean sweep, but the next person we're going to talk about is Heidi Gardner, someone who I think we can all agree we're a big fan of here at the SNL Network. She's been on the show for 5 seasons. This would be her 6th season on the show if she comes back for season 48. I feel like this one can go pretty quickly. I'm going to start with Haynes. Do you think Heidi's coming back?
Yeah, Heidi's coming back, and she'll be here through season 50. She's a stalwart. she's here to stay.
Bill?
100% the star of the show, in my opinion, and my favorite cast member by far. So, yeah, she's coming back.
Absolutely, she's coming back, and this is her season. I think so. I have a feeling it's going to be her season.
Yeah, absolutely. Your words to Lauren's ears, as the saying goes. I agree. I'm really excited to see what we get from Heidi this season. I really think this is her time to really step into the spotlight. Not that she hasn't already had a lot of opportunities on the show, but I think this 5 seasons, she has so much experience under her belt. She's kind of paid her dues, and I think it's really time to see her take center stage here at Studio 8H. Moving on, we're going to skip past Colin really to the end when we talk about Weekend Update. And This one I think will be interesting. Next up, we have Alex Moffat, who has been on the show for 6 seasons. This would be his 7th season on the show. 7 seasons. It's kind of hard to believe that he's been on SNL for this long. I'm going to start here with you, Haynes. Do you think we'll be seeing Alex Moffat back for season 48?
I do think we'll see him back. I don't know, of any other projects that would be pulling him in a direction that would, make him feel like he didn't want to remain on the show. Obviously, they love him at the show. So I think Alex is coming back. And, even though we have gotten much more lenient with, folks leaving town to work on other projects, so not to skip too far ahead, like Cecily obviously, has not departed the show yet, but she does a lot of other work. I just don't see anything pulling Alex away right now. And I think, he's still getting screen time and he makes me laugh. So why wouldn't he?
Bill, I'm going to bring it over to you. And, Alex has been someone who I think has definitely been underutilized over the last couple of seasons. Obviously, he got the opportunity to play Biden for a couple episodes, and then that didn't last. He seems like he's been a good sport about it. But yeah, I mean, somebody whose kind of trajectory on the show that he reminds me of in recent years is Taran Killam, in the sense that, he started off really strong, had a lot to do on the show, and then slowly, I don't know exactly what happened, but Bill, what do you think about the chances of Alex Moffat returning for season 48?
He would be, other than the 2 that I think are definitely leaving, in my opinion, he would be the closest to on the bubble for me, only because of some of the points you just mentioned, and the Taran Killam is a perfect example. It's such a shame because we really thought last year that he was going to kind of fill the Beck dad roles. He was going to be the guy in all the sketches with the proms and this and that, and he didn't really get that. He didn't get a chance to shine nearly as much. And 7 seasons, my goodness! Like, I remember when that was only 2 or 3 people in the history of the show. So I hope he is. I'd put it at maybe like 60-70% that he is coming back, but I'm more concerned about him than most.
Victoria, what are your thoughts on, or what do you think, is in store for Alex Moffat? Is he coming back for season 48, or is this where we kind of say goodbye?
Well, Bill kind of threw me for a loop because I wasn't thinking that at all. I think for sure, I don't know why, but I'm confident that he's coming back, and I think. And I thought so the same thing for last season, that he would kind of fill in that back role, a little bit. I think that's going to be this season for him. I think last season was transitioning and trying things out and, seeing where things fit, especially with, with new folks. But I think season 48 is going to be, and I hope it's not his last, but I think it's going to be a big season for Alex Moffat.
I really hope you're right, Victoria, because I do think, at least in the last couple seasons, his potential or his talent has not been kind of used by the show as much as I think he has the potential for. So if I had to put money on it, he is one of those who I think is kind of 50-50 for me. But I'm going to say it's more likely than not that we'll be able to see him, just because, in recent years and interviews and whatever, we have this idea that Lauren wants to keep together the cast as much as possible, going into season 50. So, if that is something that is still the case, I think it is likely, but he is definitely one of those who is slightly on the bubble. I do hope that if he does come back, he gets a lot more screen time this season. Next, we have Ego Nwodim, who we've kind of already talked about on this episode. She's been on for 4 seasons. This would be her 5th. I'm forgetting who I'm starting off with here. I think I'm going to go over to you, Bill. What are your thoughts on Ego?
Love Ego. I think what a rise she had this past season. I really think that she kind of showed her range in a way we hadn't seen before. And I think, as I said earlier, her and Heidi are kind of the ones to go to for all these wonderful sketches. So I think Ego is 100%.
Yeah, totally agree. Obviously, she's becoming / kind of has become a star of the show. I just saw her in a new commercial the other day that got a very solid laugh out of me. Good delivery from her. I can't remember what the product is for, but that's the way I watch commercials. Sorry, they don't work on me. Obviously she's coming back. You kind of alluded to this, something that I was thinking about already, Sammy, with saying Lauren wants to keep this cast, try and keep as many people together through season 50. I just feel like if you're on the show now and you've been on the show for a few years and you can do it, you can handle the grind, you've gotten accustomed to it, I think you're saying to yourself, yeah, I want to be here for those next 3 years. So I'm not trying to get too far ahead and basically give an answer for everybody else that's remaining on our list. But I feel like if you've been on the show for a few years, and we're talking about, real cast members at this point, not featured players. So everyone has been, I think for almost everyone left on this list, and I'll still be glad to speak about them individually as we move through this. But I think my gut feeling would be that a lot of people are going, yeah, if I've been here 3, 4, 5 years, yeah, I can do 3 more. I want to do 3 more. Like, I want to hit that 50 mark. I want to be there just in case it is that, that final season.
Definitely, and that's a good point, Victoria. Do you have anything you want to add? I mean, I'm assuming you also have a thumbs up on Ego returning this season.
Ego Nwodim is an absolute star. Let's start there. She is an absolute star. She is incredibly talented, as Bill mentioned. She has shown her range, especially within the last couple of seasons. I think this next season is going to be really important for her, and that she's, I think, going to take on a little bit more, and then in the best way. So I'm excited to see more from her. I think she's wonderful. No doubt that she's going to come back, and kind of to Andrew's point, I think she's going to be around for a little bit longer. I don't foresee her in the near future leaving anytime soon. And I think your commercial is probably Xfinity. Shout out.
Corporate shill.
We're not sponsored. We're not sponsored.
Give me a discount though. Just kidding.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't even know what Xfinity sells. Honestly, I don't know what that is.
It's
capitalism.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. So let's move on to the next cast member here. Kind of like Haynes said, we can, for the next couple of these, we can kind of rapid fire through. I mean, Chris Redd is someone who we've already kind of alluded to earlier in the episode, had a really good season last year. Victoria, likely, you would say?
Chicago sweetheart Chris Redd. Yeah, I think he's for sure going to come back, though. He's doing a lot outside of the show, so there was a small part of me worried about whether or not he would come back, but that's like 5%. For sure he's going to come back. This is going to be also, like I said, for Ego, he's going to kind of take it over this season, or at least that's my hope. But he is a star. I think he's very talented, and a lot of people want to work with him, which is a great problem for him to have. So I hope that just doesn't deter from him being so active in this show. I think he'll be on the show, but I think he's going to get some calls for some projects in the future. But yeah, Chicago's Prince. Happy to have him.
Haynes, Bill, can I put you down as a thumbs up here on Chris Redd?
You mean friend of the show, Chris Redd?
Yes, friend of the show.
Yeah.
Shameless plug. Please check out the SNL Network's exclusive interview that we did earlier this summer with Chris Redd.
So good.
It was an awesome to see him kind of grace his presence here on the network, and hopefully we'll get more cast members to join us in the future. Haynes, another thumbs up from you?
Obviously.
Yeah. it's safe to say that not only will he be coming back for season 48, but I think it will be a really exciting season for Chris Redd. All right, moving on here to someone who, so far, this is the person who's been on the cast for the longest, someone who we kind of thought would maybe leave not only last season, but the season beforehand. She had kind of a soft goodbye to the show, but then she came back for season 47. We're still not sure whether or not she'll be back for season 48. Is the great Cecily Strong. This one is interesting. Haynes, I'm going to start with you. What do you think about Cecily Strong? Do you see her coming back, or is this goodbye?
It is an interesting one, and I do see her coming back. When she gave us that performance in the fish tank of wine, it did feel, a little goodbye-ish. But she's been on this show so long, and she's such a powerful voice on the show. I saw her as 1/3 of that power trio that pretty much ran the show for a decade, basically. So, with Katie and Adie being the other parts of that. So, like I was saying, Cecily Strong is, I don't see why, if she didn't leave last year, that's the thing. If she didn't leave, after this past season, I'm not sure why she would now, but who knows? I mean, we don't know what exactly was, and we don't even know if she was considering leaving, honestly. People talk about it like she made a choice to stay. I mean, yeah, you always make a choice to stay, but I don't know that I don't know any hard factual reason to believe that she was waffling or thinking about leaving even. So, so if she didn't leave last year, I'm saying she's riding to season 50.
Yeah, my biggest concern would be this. The reason she's not going to be on the first month of the show, which I think is public knowledge, is that she's doing a play in LA, the same play that she did in New York, Search for Intelligent Life. It's only set to run through October, but if it gets extended, is there a possibility that this show goes on for a long time and then she can't come back? I don't know. I mean, that would be a strange way to go out. We've seen it before. Maya Rudolph left that way after the writer's strike. But I'd hate to see her go out without a proper goodbye. And plus, at some point this season, she would become the longest tenured female cast member of all time. So you don't know if those kind of things matter to people, but they probably do. So I think we'll see her at some point for sure.
And she is certainly someone who's worthy of that, that record. So it would be interesting to see if that happens. Victoria, what are your thoughts on Cecily Strong?
I think she's going to come back for this season. Of course, there's the play in the beginning of the season, but I think some folks are just saying, oh, she's going to leave because of her, the folks that she came in leaving with, leaving before her. And then, of course, when it gets to about that time, folks tend to leave. But as I think it was either Andrew or Bill mentioned, we haven't gotten any real reason for her to want to leave. That being said, I think she's at a point now in her career where she might be wanting to venture off and do other projects, which is totally understandable. But I think 48 will be her last season. That's my prediction. I think she's going to come back, have that, break in the beginning, but I think she's going to be strong after that. If she, let's say there's no extension, or she leaves as expected and comes back to the show, I think she's going to be a strong part of the show, and then have her goodbye. I don't see her staying until 50. I would love for that to happen, but I don't know. I'm just getting the vibe that she maybe wants to venture off and do her own thing, and dedicate some of that time to other projects.
Victoria, let me ask you this. Yeah, do you feel it's conversation that's going to happen? Do you feel like, because it sounds almost in some ways like you're saying, like maybe she, I don't know. I hear you talking about the other. Well, we understand people. You're doing something for a really long time. It's just tough to keep doing that. So, and obviously, as a creative person, you're interested in doing new things and finding new voices within yourself. yeah, do you feel like there was something more that she wanted out of last season, and that's why it kind of looked like a goodbye, and now she's coming back? Do you feel like she left something on the table that she's searching for, and that's why you think 48 is going to be her last season?
Yeah. Yeah. I think, creatively she's looking to expand, and she's mastered this, right? She's,
Mhm.
she's
No doubt about it.
incredibly like she's mastered SNL. It's like an improv show. Once you get to the laugh, you edit the scene. And I think, I don't want her to leave. I'm not rooting for her to leave in any way. And that's not my hope, my prayer, my dreams. But I think she's at a point though where she would love, if not on the show, maybe something else, to be challenged differently. She's, intelligent in that way too. So, and, creatively, has that variation. So it would make sense to me in that way. And I've not that I'm some, actor, but I've been in situations where, okay, I've been doing this for a little bit.
Mhm.
I would like to try something new, even if it's within that space. Even if maybe she's doing something different on SNL. I don't know. I'm opening doors for her, but like maybe she comes back as a producer, or so I don't know, or she does writing, or um, I'm gonna even say something bold here, and say maybe if Lauren's like, hey, continue the show, she would be someone that could be his successor. Like she would be
Whoa.
in she would be in the running.
That's a hot take.
That's a hot
Certainly,
take.
That's a hot take. Save that stuff for the hot take show.
I
You're
know.
getting the
That
award
comes
for
back
hottest
in a
take.
couple-
Yeah.
in a couple
I-
weeks. No, that I
So
think
hot, I'm
Victoria,
sweating.
that's certainly high praise, and I think she's very talented. Has been on the show for
Yeah.
10 seasons. This would be her 11th season that she came back. Needless to say, whether or not this is her last season, someone I can see hosting in the future for sure. So and if I were to put my money on it, I think it's likely she'll be back. There is part of me that thinks she could, kind of do a Beck Bennett Irish Goodbye situation where, she had her goodbye, technically 2 seasons ago and feels like she doesn't need to rehash it. But, I think it's likely she'll be back. And moving on to, our next cast member here, only have a couple left. I think this one is a very rapid fire round here for Kenan Thompson. Has been on the show for 19 seasons. This would be his 20th season on the show, which is crazy. He's been on the show since I was like 7 years old, 8 years old. Crazy to think about. I think we can all kind of agree that he'll be back. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I made the point earlier that if people have a few years in, they know they can do it. They're gonna want to stick this out through 50. If Kenan hasn't left yet, there's no way he's leaving now.
Yeah. And is someone who I think in the past has said, 20 sounds like a good number, but he's so close to SNL 50 that I can see him staying till then. But I think we can move on from Kenan unless anyone has anything specific they want to say. To
just a question. He joined 2003, correct?
Yeah, crazy. A different world. So many presidents ago. But yeah, we're moving on to someone who I think will definitely is on, is a debated one. She's been on the show for 6 seasons. This would be her 7th. Melissa Villaseñor. I'm going to start here with Victoria. Victoria, do you think she's coming back?
I don't know. She's so underrated, underused. She's incredibly talented. I think she's so funny. Her stand-up's great. I hope she does, but I'm not sure. I think she's been severely underused. And so when that happens, you kind of see folks not come back. But again, not my hope, not my dream, not my prayer, but I do hope that she doesn't come back, but I don't know that she will.
Haynes, this is something that people in the SNL fan community have been talking about for a while. Have we seen the end of Melissa's time on the show?
Yeah, I think we have. So this is something that folks have been talking about for a few seasons, and it's not it's not of our own making. She regularly in the past, for a few couple years at least, has on social media expressed that she's not always happy with the show, and that maybe she deserves something else. She deserves to be happy, and of course all people do. So hate to hear that she has felt that way at times. I was just pulling up her tour dates on my phone. I mean, she's got this tour scheduled right in the heart of SNL season. It starts in October and goes all the way through mid-November. So yeah, like Cecily's taking a little time off, but there's those are two different people as far as their current relationship with SNL. So yeah, to me, Melissa is the person that I feel most confident about departing the show. Obviously I don't know, but it would. I'm going to go ahead and say Melissa does not come back, and it's possible Aristotle goes with her, and we say goodbye to those friends.
Bill?
Yeah, I mean the tour is the biggest thing. I got the pre-sale the other day, and I was like, well, I went from 80% thinking she was leaving to 99.9. I mean, it's not only Andrew's great point about she's not the same person as Cecily and won't get the same leeway, but it's not the same thing. You can make stand-up dates for any time. So if it was as simple as, I need to do a stand-up tour, well, you can do that during the break when we're off the air for, 4 weeks in December and January. So I think that kind of was the death knell for me, which is a shame. And, Andrew alluded to all the social media stuff that she's done, why it wasn't at 100% for me, because she's gone on before. We thought she was leaving before the beginning of last season because of her posts and her, cryptic messages. I don't think there's a chance she comes back. So sadly.
Yeah, and I think I'm with you guys on this one. I think if 6 seasons is a lot of time to be on SNL, and there's people who have had similar careers as her on the show who didn't have that amount of time. So I just think if you see kind of her presence on social media, this might be the time where we say goodbye. But you never know. Yeah, I kind of felt the same way about last season as well, and she ended up coming back. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not that happens. And finally, before we talk about Weekend Update, Bowen Yang, he's been on the show for 3 seasons. This would be his 4th. He was recently nominated for an Emmy as a part of his contribution on the show. I feel pretty safe about him coming back. Haynes, do you feel the same?
Yeah, 100%. And he's someone that I could see really crushing Weekend Update if there was some changeover there. The thing is, he's so good in as a character in sketches that I wouldn't want to miss him there. And and the work he's done with his Weekend Update characters. We don't really get to see the Weekend Update hosts bring their own characters to it. So I'd love to keep that around. But yeah, Bowen's for sure coming back. Yeah, he's a star, man.
Yeah, Bill. I mean, do you feel the same way?
Exactly, 100%. It'll be strange without him having 80 there, but I think that's one of the reasons we'll see Cecily come back, is because they work so well together and all those great musical numbers that Haynes loves.
He's for sure coming back. He's a star. He is an absolute star.
Yeah, for sure. And I agree with you, Haynes. It would be interesting. I would love to see him on the update desk. He, it's a similar situation to Cecily, where she kind of did update for a while, but then we missed out on her characters, so she stepped away from that. So it would be interesting to see him tackle that, and that kind of transitions us over to our current hosts of Weekend Update, Colin Jost and Mikey Day. Shay has been on the show. Sorry, I said Mikey Day. Sorry, Colin Jost and Michael Shay. That would be a different pairing. But Michael Che's been on the show for 8 seasons. This would be his 9th, and Colin, as a cast member, has been on the show for 9 seasons, and this would be his 10th. Obviously, Colin's been involved as a writer on the show for many more seasons than that. Do you guys think that we'll be seeing any sort of shakeup on the update desk this season? Bill, let me start with you.
No, staying the same, which is fine with me. I feel like this is one of the biggest keys to the success of this current era of SNL is these two guys. Some people are tired of their work. I'm not. I can take them at the weekend update desk for as long as they want to stay. So yeah, I think it's 100%.
Victoria?
We've heard lots of rumblings and lots of predictions that they're leaving. I don't think so. I think that they are, they're on such like a ride up right now, and that SNL would do anything in their power to make them stay. So I think we're going to probably see that. I'm hoping we see them through season 50, but only time will tell.
Yeah, I do think they're coming back. I don't see any change here. Michael Che did say, and he's a comedian, so I'm just gonna go ahead and say that he was joking when he was telling all his audiences that he wasn't coming back to SNL. And it's possible that he was letting some truth through. But I do think, and this blows me away, as long as stand-up comedy has been around, that there are still people who like take people seriously when they're on stage. I'm like, you guys know it's an act. Like the whole thing's an act, right? So it cracks me up when people take that stuff a little too seriously. I feel like, if these guys are going to leave the show, and Weekend Update is a thing where you're already so spotlighted, like we don't have to create a sketch that gives them a chance to say goodbye. Like this is their time. They're looking at the camera. They're speaking to us. I feel like, they would say goodbye. Or at least Joseph definitely would. I feel like I could see Che being like, "Oh man, I don't want to do that," that BS or something, and just like sneak off. I could see him pulling a little bit of an Irish goodbye. And honestly, let me just say, I don't know how that term. I don't know like how it came to be. So I don't know if we're really even supposed to say it. It could be offensive. I don't know the history of that term, honestly. So
Okay,
I'm half Irish. I'm okay with it.
Okay.
If Bill's okay with it, he obviously speaks for everyone.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Sounds good. Well, but no, I expect both of them to be back.
Yeah. No, I echo everything you guys have said. They are one of the strongest parts of the show in this iteration. They have such great chemistry. We haven't seen a last joke swap from them, so I do think, that is another, that was surprising to see at the end of last season that we didn't get that. So, that might be kind of tipping their hat to say, we're going to be back for at least one more season, and will they make it to season 50? That's unknown, but I guess we'll find out soon. So there you have it. That is our discussion on the cast. The only other thing I would add here is, please don't destroy. They're not really members of the cast, but I do personally think we'll be seeing their role on the show grow even more. Would be interesting to see if any of them kind of get called up from the writers' room and join the cast. But I guess we'll find that out in a couple of weeks here. I thought to wrap up this episode, it would be a lot of fun to look at this article that recently came out on TV Line. They talked about Ryan Schwartz was the writer of this article. They talked about some potential hosts for season 48. Obviously, earlier this summer, we did our own draft for potential hosts for season 48. We see some similarities in the list, but that's just, speaking volumes to, the great ideas, the great foresight that the panelists here have. And so I think it'd be fun to kind of rapid fire through some of these names and see if these are people you guys would want to see or you think are likely to see next season, and if there's anyone else that's not on this list that you think would be good hosts. So let's start with Ana de Armas. Ana de Armas, she's going to be in the new Marilyn Monroe movie Blonde on Netflix. I would love to see her host. I think she's been very funny in a lot of things. Bill, do you think she'd make for a good host?
Yeah, I think we have a history of actresses of this sort doing a great job on the show. So yes.
Yeah.
Same here.
I don't remember if I actually did draft her in the in our potential host draft, but she was on my list of potential hosts. And so maybe I did even say her name then. So definitely she could make it. And not to get us too far off topic here, but I'll just say, when you mentioned PDD, I could see Ben becoming a cast member. He's a real casty.
Yeah, that would be really exciting to see. He, especially in those early TikToks of his, I feel like he was really the one that kind of stood out. So I think that would be really fun to see. Next up, I'm not going to read through the whole list just in the interest of time, but this was someone who was drafted pretty early on in our host draft. He is in one of the biggest movies of all time. He's one of the biggest movie stars of all time. That is Tom Cruise. It's crazy that he's never hosted the show. If there was ever a time for him to host, it feels like this was like the moment to really capitalize on that. But maybe it's something he's not interested in. Victoria, do you have any thoughts on the likelihood of this happening?
I think if he was going to host, he would have done it in 47. But who am I? I'm just a kid with a dream. I think that it could be. He could in 48 or beyond. But I think if there was like a prime time for him to do it, would have been earlier this year. But we'll see.
I think if there was a time he would have hosted, it would have been in the 80s or 90s. He's past his prime. Get out of here, Tom. We don't need you.
You don't want to see him, reprise his role as Les Grossman in a digital short or anything like that.
No, listen. No, he'd do great. He's a great actor. He'd be fun. I think he would draw a lot of eyes, which is that's why we bring these folks on, because that we know that they're hot in culture at the moment. So yeah, no, he would do a fine job. But I think it's just amazing that he never has hosted. I do think there's times when it would have been more likely, but I certainly wouldn't have a problem with it. I'd welcome him, and I think he'd do a good job.
Yeah, that was one of the things we saw early on in our never hosted draft. The people who you think would have hosted, if they haven't hosted by now, they probably aren't going to. These people who've been around for 35, years, 25 years, and are some of the biggest stars in the world, and he's one of them. Love to see it. I don't think it's happening.
For sure. I'm going to switch it up here a little bit because there's a couple names on here that aren't first-time hosts. Bill, I'm going to bring it back to you. Of these two names, who do you think is more likely to make a return this season? Donald Glover or Jon Hamm? Donald Glover has obviously only hosted one time. Jon Hamm was someone who hosted a lot in the early, late 2000s, the aughts. What are your thoughts on Glover or Hamm?
Ooh, I don't know that I can choose who I'd want to host more because I'd love both of them back. I think Donald would probably be more likely because of the final season of Atlanta dropping in September. But yeah, I'd be good with either one.
That's exactly the take I would give. I love both those guys, and it'd be great to have either of them back. But yeah, I think listen, Hamm is killing the Progressive commercials right now. Love it. That one sticks with me. I know about Progressive. Thanks, Jon Hamm. But I think Atlanta season 4, that's the ticket.
I'm inclined to agree. I think because of Atlanta's final season, that he would have the likeliness to host over Jon Hamm. And if Jon Hamm does come on, Flo would be alongside him, of course.
Yeah, for sure. And, personally, the Donald Glover episode from a couple seasons ago was one of my favorite episodes of the last couple of years. Would love to see him make a return. I'm also a big fan of his music. So if he, does double duty again and puts out another album, I think that would be awesome. But, would never complain to see Jon Hamm return the Studio 8H. Let's do a couple more and then we'll wrap up here. Billy Eichner, he's someone who I actually drafted in the never hosted draft. Diego Luna is someone who is on here for his new Star Wars show. Keke Palmer was obviously just in Nope, and she's super funny on social media. Michelle Yeoh is on this list. She was in Everything Everywhere All at Once, a really awesome movie. Any of those names jump out to you guys, or if there's any names that aren't on this list that you'd love to see host either returning or first time, let's rapid fire that real quick.
I feel like Keke Palmer. I mean, she has been everywhere this summer. So not only with Nope, but with everything else. So I would be surprised if they don't try to get her. Don't know if they will, but I would be surprised if she doesn't end up in the fall.
I'm with that.
Yeah, no, for sure. Keke Palmer. I think, well, I don't know, as of the last couple of days, but Olivia Wilde was on my list of hosts, but then, well, there's some things going on. That might not.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because also on this list is Florence Pugh and Harry Styles. So, obviously Harry Styles has hosted, Florence Pugh has not, but I think she just recently said, or it was reported that she's not going to be doing any press for the movie she did with Harry Styles and Olivia Wilde. If you guys follow Demure at all, or are in the celebrity gossip circles of the internet, there's a lot of chatter there. So I don't know how that affects the likelihood. I'd love to see Florence Pugh host SNL. She was actually my number one pick in the never hosted draft. So still keep my fingers crossed there. But needless to say, we're all very excited for season 48 to start back up here in a couple weeks. No matter who is returning to the cast or who's hosting, I think we're in for a bit of a rebuilding year, as we've said before. And I think that will be, good for the show. And as we get closer to season 50, really cementing the legacy of Saturday Night Live. I think we're in for a really exciting season. And I think that's where we'll wrap it up. Before I go into kind of what we've got cooking up here on the SNL Network, I want to thank our awesome panel here today. I'm going to start here with Bill. Please tell the listeners where they can find you. It's been great having you on the show, buddy.
So great to be back. One of the things the last 3 seasons, not only getting excited about SNL, but being with all of you guys again and getting to talk SNL on a regular basis. You can follow me on Twitter or Instagram at BKLove73.
For sure. And Victoria, this is your first time ever on the Superfan Takeover. It was great having you. I hope you had a fun time. Where can the listeners find you?
First, but I hope not the last. This was very, 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 very fun. You can find me on Instagram here, v.toriaf. And if you're in the Metro Detroit area, and you're in the Ferndale area specifically, you can find me at Go Comedy performing on any random night. So hope to see you there.
I feel like that message was just for me because that's where I am at. And then finally, to the one and only Andrew on this edition of the Superfan Takeover, Andrew Haynes, thanks for being on the show tonight. Where can the people find you?
It was so fun being on. It was wild hearing you call me Andrew just now instead of Haynes. Yeah, I mean, my Twitter handle is at SNL Has a Cast, and I'm at Candrew Attitude on Instagram. But why would you want to follow me? You're getting my best stuff right here. You're getting my best stuff right here. Like, don't even worry about it.
Yeah, we have the exclusive access here to Haynes's brain. He doesn't know that he's signed that off, but he has, and he's got to get a better lawyer next time he signs his contract for the SNL Network. And you can find me at that Sammy Kay here on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Obviously, please check back at our past episodes of the Superfan Takeover. I can't believe we've been doing this show for almost 3 years, right? Is that math correct? Or this will be the 3rd season we're covering at least.
Right.
And if you guys ever have anything that you want to hear me and the other Superfans talk about on the show, please feel free to hit me up on social media. We'd love to hear your feedback. As far as what we have coming up here on the SNL Network, just recently we wrapped up on our Character Countdown Patreon podcast series that took place throughout the month of August, where we counted down the top 20 SNL characters of all time. So if you have not had the chance to listen or watch those, please feel free to do that if you want to get your SNL fix before season 48 begins. And then next week, we will be covering the Emmys. So I hope you join us on Emmy night for some live coverage, and details will come out on social media soon for that. And stay tuned to everything that we are doing here at the SNL Network on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And make sure that you are subscribed to the show on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify so you never miss an episode. Thanks again for Bill, Haynes, and Victoria. And to everyone watching, we hope that you are enjoying the long weekend, and we'll see you next time here on the SNL Network.